Part 4. A Middle School Cartoonist. Author, Mao Do Sde Mao. Chapter 31. Since Takahashi Makoto's Chuyunibu evolution incident, in Yoshida's eyes, Takahashi Makoto was just drunk. Yoshida carried out a thorough cleanup of Takahashi Makoto's house and found that Takahashi Makoto had hidden many items. Items that minors may not possess. Youngsters who are underage cannot drink. Yoshida took away a few bottles of wine. You're 100 years too early to play gal game. By the way, you, an underage brat, how did you get these things? Many of them are collectibles. Yoshida looked at the thick pile of game discs in his hand. My eyes were shining, I was drooling and I confiscated it. For a middle school brat like you think too much about love and stuff. Instead of having time to read these weird love novels, you might as well draw a storyboard for me, Yoshida said to Takahashi Makoto. He snatched away the romance novel that he was holding tightly in his arms, and lectured Makoto Takahashi with a serious expression on his face. My beloved cat, you are asking for death. Seeing many rare items being taken away one by one, Makoto Takahashi completely exploded. Originally I didn't want to use this trick, but this is all your fault. You forced me. Are you going to use the swastika? Or is it the demon god Phoenix's unique special move Underworld Zanjutsu Break? Yoshida showed a twitching smile on his face and looked at Makoto Takahashi with disdain. Takahashi Makoto, I regret to tell you that the same moves are of no use to me. Do you think you are a saint? Makoto Takahashi picked up the wooden sword Lake Toya beside him, pointed the tip of the sword at Yoshida, and began to chant, the one who is darker than dusk, the one who is redder than blood flow, buried in the torrent of time, in your great name, I hereby swear to the darkness that all stupid things that stand in front of us will be destroyed equally with my power and yours. Cut. It's really dangerous. Yoshida took many dangerous risks and avoided Takahashi Makoto's knowing blow. Looking at the wooden bench that was broken into two pieces, Yoshida broke out in a cold sweat. You kid, are you serious? Are you so powerful in combat? And why does Dragon Break attack with a wooden sword? Greed is the original sin. Makoto Takahashi squinted at Yoshida. Have you ever understood the innate skills of the king after his awakening? Wantlessly robbing the king's belongings is a capital crime. Just when Yoshida was considering whether to put down the items in his hands, Takahashi Makoto's phone rang. Hey! What good luck, and, Makoto Takahashi looked at the name displayed on the phone with a complicated expression. He threw the wooden sword aside and hung up the phone. It's Rina-chan calling, right? Yoshida didn't notice the change in Takahashi Makoto's expression, and laughed happily. You actually hung up the phone on Rina-chan. Takahashi Makoto, you are really brave, you are a true hero. Just wait to be swallowed by the dark food. My beloved cat, go back. Makoto Takahashi gave the eviction order unceremoniously. The manga manuscript has been delivered to you. The rest is good, the rest is not for you who are destined to live alone. I can understand it. This is a realm that only kings can touch, a world that only the fierce ones of Phoenix Academy can know. Yes, yes. The I understand expression on Yoshida's face made Takahashi inexplicably angry. Although it's good to be in love, don't delay the manga. Speaking of my beloved cat. Makoto Takahashi pulled out a color picture of Euphemia from his desk. Do you want this? I'll give it to you for free. Let's go back and have a massacre war that kills hundreds of millions of people. Bar. After seeing Yoshida go out with a dark face, Takahashi Makoto let out a long sigh. After hesitating for a moment, he picked up the phone and dialed the number marked the witch who rules the dark world Rina. Before the call was connected, Takahashi Makoto felt a little melancholy. What should he say? For Takahashi Makoto now, the most terrifying thing is facing Rina. Unrequited love is the most humble battle. Because the person who initiates the war is always in the most humble position. He knows that there is little hope of victory in this war, but he still fights like a moth to the flame, fighting with all his strength, and has no regrets until death. Just like the spider silk hanging from the cliff, knowing that this thin silk thread cannot bear the weight of the body, but holding on to luck and hope, I reach out and hold on tightly, trying to climb up the cliff, trying to break free from the shackles of despair. Welcome the hope called miracle. Like because of similarity, dislike because of sameness. When you like someone, you are willing to pay for them, and your sweetheart's joys, sorrows, and joys become your own reflection, and you are so humble that you forget yourself. All of this is just because of love. Makoto Takahashi saw everything Rina did, and felt inexplicably irritated in his heart, because Makoto Takahashi saw the shadow of his past. People are such strange creatures. For people with the same past as themselves, they may sympathize with people because of the same experiences, but they cannot accept it. Because I hate my own past weaknesses, I cannot tolerate the weaknesses of others. Because I hate my past immature performances, when I meet the same people, I will feel a kind of disgust from the bottom of my heart and want to stay away from them. Takahashi Makoto used to hate Rina with a feeling of inferiority. Cheng-kun, Rina's voice sounded a little excited, and her tone was full of contented happiness. This is the first time that Cheng-kun has taken the initiative to call me. Listening to what Rina said, Takahashi Makoto's heart suddenly felt inexplicable pain. To me, it was just a trivial matter, but to Rina, it was like the grace of a universal pardon. This feeling is really disgusting. Scum Cheng branch line triggered. Takahashi Cheng's words came to his lips, but he couldn't say anything. Your body is shaking a little, is it because of fear or guilt? Cheng-kun, I'm sorry, Rina suddenly apologized apologetically, her tone weak, as if she was worried about something. I know about the matter between my brother and Cheng-kun. Is that so? Makoto Takahashi tried to maintain a calm tone, but he kept exerting self-suggestion on himself in his heart. Body, please calm down. Soul, stop trembling cowardly. Hasn't it been decided before? Carry out the king's hegemony, turn the faith in your heart into a sharp sword, break through all the difficult darkness, and open up a bright road. But why are you being cowardly at this time? Do you want to escape again? Brother asked me to leave Cheng-kun. Rina's tone was a little desperate. Cheng-kun, Rina has always liked Cheng-kun, very much. My brother told Rina that Cheng-kun actually doesn't care about Rina in his heart. I can feel it. Takahashi Makoto listened to Rina, who had already started sobbing on the other side of the phone. His heart hurt as if it had been torn apart. He opened his mouth several times to say something, but he couldn't bear to interrupt Rina. Maybe Cheng-kun doesn't remember what happened at that time, haha. Rina suddenly laughed softly, but the negative emotions in it could even be detected by Takahashi Makoto on the other side of the phone. At that time, Cheng-kun's standing posture made me suddenly feel a sense of security that is different from that of my family. As long as I stand behind Cheng-jun, I feel at ease. Stop talking. Makoto Takahashi couldn't listen anymore. His soul was about to be torn apart. Please listen to me, Cheng-kun. Rina's tone was full of determination. After reading the comics drawn by Cheng-jun that day, I suddenly had a feeling of fear. Cheng-jun was leaving me. Although I couldn't see it, I could feel it. I was still where I was, but Cheng-jun had already left me. Getting further and further away. Rina, Makoto Takahashi tried to interrupt Rina, but unfortunately Rina ignored him decisively. I'm not willing to give in. There was some kind of obsession in the girl's tone, which made Takahashi Cheng completely swallow what he wanted to say. I am getting further and further away from Mr. Cheng, and I don't want this feeling. So, I have to work hard to become a person who can stand by Cheng-jun, and for this, I am willing to give everything. The girl's determined look seemed to appear in front of Makoto Takahashi's eyes, and began to overlap with the figure of someone in his memory. That's right, This tone is exactly the same as that of myself in the previous life. Makoto-kun, maybe you don't like me. Rina's voice was broken and mixed with vibrato. Makoto Takahashi on the phone was sure that Rina was crying at this time. Rina-chan, please listen to me, Makoto Takahashi began to try to comfort Rina. But I like Chang-kun, Rina suddenly shouted loudly, so, even if Chang-kun doesn't like me, don't tell me. Please let me reserve the right to like Chang-kun. Makoto Takahashi suddenly fell silent. He was indeed the same as himself in the previous life. I'm talking about you. Don't say it. Don't say it, Rina was on the phone, crying. Now, if you look like this, can you still be regarded as a witch who rules the dark world? Takahashi Changzhong spoke in second language, with all his firepower. Where is your confidence? Where is your pride? Don't give up these things to me. Don't you want to be the witch next to the king? Once the witch sheds tears, she will lose all her magic power. Ah! Chang-kun, what are you going to say? Rina was sure that she heard correctly, but this kind of dream-like twist would never be too small no matter how many times she heard it. So, being a witch is no longer suitable for you, Makoto Takahashi complained with some dissatisfaction. That's right, now you have changed your job and become a princess, and as for me, the will of the king has awakened. After that, he had already given up his identity as the demon god. This. Rina became a little confused. Although she could roughly hear what Takahashi Makoto wanted to express, but, couldn't Takahashi Makoto explain it clearly? Chuyunibu and other things, this kind of time is really the most annoying. So let's sign a new contract. Makoto Takahashi seemed to have made up his mind, walking to the window and looking at the dark clouds gradually dispersing outside, the agreement between Her Royal Highness the Princess and the King. One will always move forward bravely, face various challenges, face various difficulties, and never run away. Makoto Takahashi clenched his fist with his right hand and punched forward hard, in order to rescue Ogata Eiji. Your Highness the Princess, who is imprisoned by the great demon king, will turn the faith in your heart and your persistent love into the dawn that penetrates the world, scatter the ominous black clouds in the sky, and welcome the birth of the new world together with your Highness the Princess. Makoto-kun. Rina was a little bit dumbfounded. She obviously had great hopes, but because of Takahashi Saichu's second speech, she felt a little more happy. The sadness in Rina's heart was driven away, whether it was because of Takahashi Saichu's second speech or the unknown agreement. Perhaps only Rina herself understood it best. Wait until then, Takahashi Makoto suddenly raised his voice. We will first send the great devil Ogata Eiji back to the abyss, and then eliminate the root cause of this world's misfortune. Let's get married. A middle school cartoonist. Author, MaleProtagonist. Chapter 32. Princess Rina seems to have awakened new talents after a certain incident. If she does more tasks, she may be able to change her job from idol singer to diva. Diva is a complimentary term, and career evaluation, similar to the Queen of Heaven. But Makoto Takahashi is very depressed. The reason? Arrive at Sacred Heart Women's College. Well, now this school has officially been renamed Sacred Heart College. It has been a month since Makoto Takahashi entered Sacred Heart Academy. So far, he has not seen his desk mate, Her Royal Highness Princess Rina. Takahashi Makoto once asked the class teacher, and the answer he received was that Princess Rina took a long leave from the school due to various announcements and preparations for the upcoming concert. Hey! I'm still too naive. Makoto Takahashi stood in front of the windowsill, gazing at the clouds in the sky. I didn't expect that the great demon king Ogata had calculated everything from the beginning. Takahashi Makoto can be sure that this is the conspiracy of the great demon king Ogata. I haven't seen Rina since school started. This is because Demon King Ogata is controlling everything behind the scenes. Announcements and other preparations for the upcoming concert are all just smoke bombs deliberately released to cover up that Princess Rina is being imprisoned in the Dark Castle by the Great Demon King. Because Rina was kidnapped by the Big Devil, Makoto Takahashi had to clear the Sacred Heart Academy dungeon alone, which was very stressful. Every day wherever I go, there are a bunch of girls watching, snickering from time to time, pointing and talking about something. Even when I go to the toilet, I have to face all kinds of aggressive onlookers. Especially one time when Makoto Takahashi came out of the toilet and saw a large group of girls squatting outside the toilet, he was so frightened that he almost returned to the gate of the junior high school and tried to read a new file and start over. More than 90% of the female students in Sacred Heart College are eldest ladies. After all, the predecessor of Sacred Heart Women's College is a famous women's aristocratic college in Dongzhou. Maybe someone will suggest that we try to conquer the eldest ladies in the academy. After all, the Crystal Palace is the ideal place that every man longs for. But although Takahashi Makoto is a Chuyunibu patient, he is not an idiot. If you dare to do anything to the eldest ladies in the academy, then you should change your profession to become the Lich King first. Or prepare proof of alien exit and conquer Namek. In front of the eldest lady's bodyguard regiment, it is estimated that the emperor came with the king's army. Well, it seems that this battle can be looked forward to. Makoto Takahashi is Makoto Takahashi, a Chuyunibu full of arrogance, not a certain Aotian. Speaking of which, if a certain Aotian appears, Takahashi Makoto, how much resentment do you have towards Aotian Jun? For example, in the Sacred Heart Academy, if a certain Aotian comes here, then there is no doubt that 9 out of 10 Aotians will use this well-known aristocratic academy in East China to take advantage of the protagonist's halo to launch the brainwashing god. Use technology to build a harmonious and friendly Crystal Palace away from infighting. As for the remaining one, she must either become the elder sister recognized by the college and become the existence that the schoolgirls look forward to. Or, well, it comes with the innate skill everyone has a disease. But Makoto Takahashi, who is in the 2nd grade of middle school, just feels that he is being watched as an alien or something, and he has deep resentment. He really wants to use a railgun to rebuild this school. Therefore, even if Takahashi Makoto has the blessing of the traveler skill, he will still suffer from Chuyunibu, and will not become a certain Aotian. It's not the world that's wrong, but the great demon king Ogata. Makoto Takahashi roared up to the sky unwillingly, the root of evil. Now I have one more reason to kill you. Hey, Takahashi-san, let's clear the dungeon together tonight. The long blue-haired Izumi Nakata squinted his eyes and looked at Makoto Takahashi. I got the true dark magic sword last night. Today, stay up all night. I'm sorry, Captain. Makoto Takahashi looked at Izumi and apologized very politely. I have to practice in the evening. After all, when I think of the princess, she is still in the hands of the big devil. I feel inexplicably irritated. Hee. An inexplicable smile appeared on Quan Zifang's face. Has the big devil imprisoned the princess? What a pity. After you go to the castle, maybe the princess and the big devil will have children, one boy and one child. The woman said. No, it's impossible. Makoto Takahashi strongly denied Izumi's idea. The big devil is the elder brother of Her Royal Highness the Princess. You are too sweet. Quan Zifang shook his head regretfully, his eyes becoming extremely sharp. The taboo between brother and sister is easy to break, as long as there is enough love. Impossible. Makoto Takahashi's face turned pale. By the way, are you sure they are brother and sister? Quan Fang refused to give in, with a smirk on his face. Maybe there is no blood relationship between the brother and sister, and one of them was picked up or adopted. Stop talking. Makoto Takahashi covered his ears and knelt on the ground in despair. Izumi looked at Makoto Takahashi, who had completely collapsed. After confirming that he had helped Makoto Takahashi and starting the blackening side mission, Izumi left with a smile on his face. After being troubled, Takahashi Makoto called Princess Rina to confirm that there was a blood relationship between the big devil and the princess. As a result, the princess mistakenly believed that Takahashi Makoto wanted to reach a reconciliation with the big devil. Rina-chan's understanding was not wrong, but there was something wrong with Takahashi Makoto's way of expressing it. So Princess Rina was in a good mood and decided to give a mysterious gift to the King of Braves, Makoto Takahashi. After returning home, Takahashi Makoto looked at Yoshida at the door. His smiling face suddenly turned a little gloomy. Without saying hello, he entered the room directly and locked the smiling Yoshida in. Outside the door, I keep myself company with embarrassment. Half an hour later, Makoto Takahashi, who was holding Ruri, sat on the sofa, teasing Sadaharu from time to time, and seemed to completely ignore Yoshida sitting opposite. What's going on with that everyone in the world owes you 1 million soft girl coins expression? Yoshida looked at Makoto Takahashi with some confusion, and kindly persuaded him, as your editor-in-chief, as you're my friend, I think I can listen to you. Although Yoshida is a bit sinister sometimes, as a qualified adult, he still takes good care of underage brats like Takahashi Makoto. The reason why he said these words was because Yoshida had good intentions and was a little worried about Makoto Takahashi. Yoshida can swear on this. But Yoshida seems to have forgotten that Takahashi Makoto's true Yonibu just evolved some time ago. Friend? Huh, Makoto Takahashi looked at Yoshida with disdain. My beloved cat, you seem to have become more arrogant recently. Don't forget your identity. You're just a commoner. Yoshida's mouth twitched and he took a deep breath, as if trying to slowly digest the resentment in his heart. I have something to tell you. What? Have you awakened a new skill? Of course. The king has awakened, so as a pet, you should have mastered 1 or 2 skills. Makoto Takahashi was pleased. He looked at Yoshida calmly. Only in this way can we continue the pace of the king's progress, fight the big devil with the king, and save the imprisoned princess. About the Feast of the Future King event you proposed. Yoshida went straight to the topic. The editorial department feels that there are too few people participating now, and plans to hold an event in the near future to collect a large number of works to allow more people to become comics. Everyone at home, join in this feast. And you? In other words, do I also want to draw new comics? Makoto Takahashi said with a look of contempt on his face. There is no problem at all. Let me implement the tyranny of the king and slaughter and crush those miscellaneous cultivators with delusions. Damn it! Although it's a good thing that you are confident. Yoshida said with a wry smile, you are just serving as a judge this time. Of course, the new wife Ag and the eldest grandson Iris are also like you, as special judges for this event, responsible for judging these comics. Now that we have talked about this, my beloved cat, a trace of expectation flashed in Takahashi Makoto's eyes. How are the scores of the Black Flame King and Lord Iris recently? They are very strong and qualified to compete with me. Wait and be called king. The new issue has not been released yet, so the results of this issue have not been calculated yet. Yoshida is still very serious about his work as an editor. Ag Naizuma's points seem to be 780 points now, and the eldest grandson Iris, that little girl, seems to be 767. It seems that my points are just 800 points. After a moment of silence, Takahashi Makoto nodded with satisfaction. They are indeed the opponents personally selected by me. In comparison, what on earth are Landai and the others doing? We are still struggling now, but the gap will become wider and wider in the future. Looking at Makoto Takahashi, who was muttering to himself, Yoshida nodded lightly without any trace, with a look of satisfaction in his eyes. Yoshida has been closely observing Makoto Takahashi for this period of time, and found that this kid had no intention at all in drawing comics at the beginning. Well, it can't be said that it was without intention. It should be said that Makoto Takahashi was like a robot. Drawing comics is like a program that has been planned for a long time. Although it is completed impeccably, I always feel that there are some flaws. But in the recent drawings, especially after Makoto Takahashi decided to draw Lelich of the Rebellion R2, Yoshida can feel that the characters in the drawings seem to have souls of their own, and the enjoyment level has improved a lot. Although Takahashi Makoto's painting skills are improving, Yoshida can feel that Takahashi Makoto has begun to incorporate his own feelings into the paintings. It seems that there are many benefits after Makoto Takahashi's Chuyunibu evolves. This is a thought that often comes to Yoshida's mind recently. Is it already this time? Makoto Takahashi saw the clock on the wall, and his face became a little anxious. Oops, there are still a few minutes, we must catch up. What's wrong? Yoshida looked at the flustered Takahashi Makoto with curiosity. My turn, draw cards. The gathered prayers will become a new shining star, turn into a shining road. Makoto Takahashi's turn, draw cards, summon. Yoshida couldn't stand it anymore, so he walked over and slapped him in the face, and roared, you still have to recite so many spells to turn on the TV. Is your TV from alien technology or from the future? My beloved cat, why are you still here? Makoto Takahashi frowned unhappily and waved his hand impatiently, as if he was chasing away some kind of flying creature. Go back, hold your Princess Yuffie stickers and go play League of Legends. Don't interrupt me to receive messages from Her Majesty the Princess. Wait a minute, Your Highness the Princess means. Yoshida suddenly started gossiping, and then saw Rina appearing on the TV, with a look of surprise on his face. What, it turns out to be Rina-chan. Who allows you to call Her Highness the Princess by her first name, Zaxiu? Makoto Takahashi was angry. Damn it, is it too late to kill my beloved cat? Forget it, let's make an exception once. Takahashi Makoto looked at Yoshida angrily, his eyes were like a child whose toys were taken away. Remember to be grateful, common people. The king is merciful to let you stay. Takahashi Makoto stared at the TV, accept the gift from Her Royal Highness the Princess. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. A middle school cartoonist. Author, MaleProtagonist. Chapter 33. Ruri-chan, and Sadaharu, be sure to watch carefully. The princess on TV was once a witch who ruled the dark world, but after falling in love with the king of braves, she had an affair with her brother, the great demon king. Contradictory, now in captivity. Makoto Takahashi looked at Rina who appeared on the TV, and educated the white dog and black cat beside him. So, love is the greatest existence in this world. Be quiet. Don't stop me from watching TV. Yoshida is obviously a lower-class servant, but he has no consciousness of being a lower-class servant. We haven't seen each other for a while. Rina-chan has become more mature. She should be more beautiful. My beloved cat, give up your newly born voyeuristic heart. Makoto Takahashi looked at Yoshida with a cold face. You are just a pet, an inferior servant, and you want to transform into Berserker Orchid? Slot. Sorry, I'm not a fool. You will never be possessed by a Tauren. This is just a boast. Do you understand praise? Yoshida pulled Takahashi Makoto's ear angrily. Is this the only ear that doesn't understand praise and boast? Rina on TV has a bright smile, and that smile really comes from the heart. Looking at that angelic smile, it is impossible to predict how many people will become Rina's loyal family members tomorrow. Rina-chan has been going smoothly lately. The host is a big sister with a beauty mark on the corner of her mouth and a rather charming smile. The career of a singer is going very smoothly. Sister, I am very envious. Explain. That's because of my brother, Rina said with a humble smile, because my brother has always been very strict with me. Although I have never said it before, but now I want to take this opportunity, Rina, to say to you, Brother, thank you. You. The TV screen turned, and the camera turned to Ogata Ag sitting in the audience. A faint smile appeared on Ogata Ag's face, he nodded slightly, and accepted his sister's thanks without humility. Hey. It's true, Makoto Takahashi looked at Ogata Ag who appeared on the TV, with a look of displeasure on his face. The Demon King really planned it. Letting Her Highness the Princess participate in a variety show or something, it turned out to be something else. Do I protest? That face makes me feel uncomfortable no matter how I look at it. They are obviously brother and sister, and the princess is so dazzling and charming, but the face of the big devil really wants to be sliced and studied for the disgusting genes. Maybe it's because... Yashida looked at Makoto Takahashi, who looked a little unkind, and secretly chuckled in his heart. Is his lover and brother destined to be hostile? Eiji Ogata is a very talented musician. This is a fact recognized by everyone in the circle. The host's sister looked at Ogata Eiji below with a smile on her face. You brother and sister have a very good relationship. Yeah. Although I'm usually a bit serious, I'm actually a very gentle person. Rina seemed to have remembered something, and a wry smile appeared on her face, but sometimes, brother, he may be too arbitrary in doing things. Hearing what Princess Rina said, Takahashi Makoto was silent for a moment, thinking of something, then got up and returned to the room, taking out a notebook with a black cover. What are you doing? Looking at Makoto Takahashi's weird behavior, Yashida was a little curious. Write the name of the great demon Lord Ogata on the destiny note and let him suffer from heart paralysis and death. Makoto Takahashi wrote the name of the great demon Lord Ogata, then raised his watch and started timing while laughing wildly. This is a violation of the law. The consequences of defying God's will, Ogata Demon King, it would be better if you were a little smarter. What a pity. How could such a thing happen? Yashida had a headache. What on earth was this kid Makoto Takahashi thinking about all day? How could something like Destiny Note, a comic book fiction, possibly exist? Even if Makoto Takahashi is the creator, it's impossible. Rina's exclamation suddenly came from the live broadcast, which made Yashida's heart beat violently. Could it be? Ha 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 ha. Makoto Takahashi laughed wildly. Stupid mortals, this is the consequence of going against God. The actual situation is that Ogata Ag did not cover his heart and fall to the ground in convulsions and die, but Rina's parents suddenly appeared, surprising Rina who was unprepared. I knew it. Yashida had a look of resentment on his face and carried Takahashi Makoto to the sofa. Just sit quietly and watch TV. If you dare to do anything weird again, I will definitely throw you out. Invaders, this is the king's territory. Makoto Takahashi looked at Yashida with disdain. If you offend the dignity of the king, gods and demons will also punish you. Not to mention an ant-like existence like you. Yashida has been immersed in the TV program and no longer pays attention to Takahashi Makoto. For a Chuyonibu like Takahashi Makoto, the best way to deal with it is to maintain a good attitude and ignore him. Rina-chan, why do you want to become a singer? After the host's sister sent the Ogata family off the stage, the topic turned to Rina without any trace. Is it because of my brother Ogata Ag? This is not. Rina showed a hint of shyness, but her eyes were full of satisfaction and happiness. The reason why I became a singer is entirely because of that person. I also want to say thank you to you. That person can't be you, right? Although Yashida had a doubtful tone, he looked at Makoto Takahashi with great certainty. Of course, because the King of Braves must live a happy life without shame and shame with Her Royal Highness at the end of the story. Makoto Takahashi was in a good mood, but after seeing the expression on Yashida's face, he felt a little resentful. What's going on with that look of disbelief? Hey, it's just your illusion. Yashida turned his head. Continue to look at your princess. Unlike Yashida, the host's sister showed a very gossipy look. She looked at Rina with a lot of curiosity. Hey. Sister, I am very curious. Rina-chan, can you talk to everyone about that, people? Rina hesitated, can you not name me? It seems that that person is very important to Rina-chan. The host's sister winked mischievously, showing a look of understanding. Of course you can. But on the other hand, Rina-chan, please tell me more information. The great demon king Ogata in the audience suddenly had a bad feeling. He wanted to go on stage to stop Rina, but after thinking about it, he still didn't take any action. He just frowned lightly and began to mutter softly. Hey! It seems that the person Rina-chan is talking about is not my brother. The host's sister saw Ogata's expression in her eyes, exclaimed curiously, covered her mouth and smiled softly, and it seems that the person Rina-chan talks about doesn't have a very good relationship with Ogata-san. Of course, Makoto Takahashi nodded firmly in front of the TV. The Demon King and the King of Braves have been destined to be enemies since birth. This is fate. This is the so-called one. There is no room for two tigers in the mountain. What if the Demon King and the King of Braves are a male and a female? Yoshida smirked. Will they fall in love and then kill each other? My beloved cat. After Makoto Takahashi imagined Ogata Age's gorilla image, he broke into a cold sweat and complained angrily, how could something like that happen? Don't say such horrible things with a smile. What a thing. That person is a cartoonist. Rina abandoned the hesitation in her heart and showed a faint smile on her face. That person had already started drawing comics before I became a singer. Huh? Is that just like this? The host's sister looked at Rina and asked with some confusion, is that person Rina-chan's lover? Hearing the host ask this question, Demon King Ogata in the audience frowned tightly and looked at Rina on the stage with some worry. You know, as an idol singer, if Rina makes her relationship public at this time, it will definitely have a huge impact on her singing career. But the great Demon King Ogata really knows his sister very well. Rina may sometimes be easy to compromise on other things, but when it comes to relationships, she is definitely a person who dares to love and hate. A lover? After hearing this question, Rina shook her head hesitantly. Before Ogata Age in the audience had time to breathe happily, he heard Rina say with a bright smile, that person, but with I made a promise for the future. The host's sister broke into a cold sweat and asked hesitantly, does the agreement mean marriage in the future? Yes, Rina nodded happily, that person said that when I become a singer and he becomes a first-class cartoonist, we will get married. We will work hard together for our agreement. Don't change the contract randomly. Makoto Takahashi was a little entangled in front of the TV. Fighting the big devil and rescuing the imprisoned princess is already a very difficult task. But now the task has been changed to unify the world. You kid, you are really... Yoshida looked at Makoto Takahashi, who looked troubled and didn't know what to say, but why did he feel envious and jealous? Takahashi Makoto's phone suddenly rang, and the caller ID was a stranger. Who is calling me? Are you ready for the sacrifice? Makoto Takahashi hesitated for a while, then picked up the phone and spoke exclusively. Humph, I'm still the same little kid who doesn't know what to say. The voice coming from the other end of the phone was none other than the great Demon King Ogata. You must have seen the live show just now, right? Since Rina has already made a decision, I won't interfere too much, but can a cartoonist of your level become a first-class cartoonist? Humph. Are you provoking the king again? Makoto Takahashi put aside the gossipy Yoshida and walked to the balcony alone. Is the great Demon King great? Don't underestimate people. I am a fierce and powerful person from the Phoenix Academy. The arrogant king of warriors. Is it the wail of a bereaved dog? Demon King Ogata activated his taunting skill. When Rina becomes a singer, I really want to see your look of inferiority. Before that, I will definitely kill you to pieces. Because I want to challenge the world. Makoto Takahashi showed a confident smile on his face, so just wash your neck and wait for death. The great Demon King Ogata. A middle school cartoonist. Author, Mao SD email. Chapter 34. What's going on? Takahashi Makoto and Yoshida shouted in unison. The editorial department decided to hold an event to collect more works and make the feast event bigger. This was originally a good thing. As a special judge, Makoto Takahashi was still a little excited. This was because he saw Yoshida bring. After hearing the news, I felt a little depressed. My familiar cat, are you fooling the king? Makoto Takahashi looked at the work in his hand with dissatisfaction. The special judges can only review one comic, and this comic was randomly selected. The king's where is the dignity? Are you seeking death? Yoshida seemed to be even more angry than Takahashi Makoto. He held the storyboard in his hand and the corners of his mouth twitched. I have been an editor for several years, and this is the first time I have seen, the protagonist dies at the end of the comic. Lelich has clearly won the war, but it ends with death, such a heartbreaking ending. What, have you been cast on the forgetting technique? Makoto Takahashi heard Yoshida's complaint, took out the previous Shonen Jump and pointed at Destiny Note. Yakama, you didn't die the same way in the end. This is different. Yoshida threw the manga manuscript on the table. It can be said that he brought the blame for Yagamayu's death. Because as the manga unfolds, Yagamayu no longer kills people to eliminate criminals. In the later stages of the comic, he has become a murderer, a tyrant trying to rule the world, and a human being with no emotions at all. It seems like you don't understand anything, my beloved cat. Regarding Yoshida's evaluation, Takahashi Makoto just said this lightly, and then continued to struggle with the matter of the special guest judges. Now you can compete with me. Please explain, why is the job of this special judge just to read the comics and write comments, but not to have the final say? Are you and everyone in the editorial department provoking King of Glory? First tell me clearly about Lelich's problem, and then I'll explain to you about the special judges. A trace of worry flashed in Yoshida's eyes, but he concealed it well enough that Makoto Takahashi didn't notice it. Lelich. Makoto Takahashi muttered the name softly, with some melancholy in his eyes. You are no longer a prince, but a true king. Because, you have implemented the king's consciousness to the end. Wait, you mean, Lelich became the real king because of this ending? Yoshida, as an editor, naturally has his own opinions on comics. The reason why today I have a look at the Zero Town at the end of the comic Soul Song is very confusing. In addition to being a bit difficult to accept as a reader, there are also some special reasons. What exactly is the so-called king? Makoto Takahashi looked at Yoshida, who was thinking, and his face became extremely serious. As a king, you naturally have to bear your own consciousness and turn your own beliefs into the way of a king. As for the people sitting high on the throne, those fools who have been blinded by power, they are just empty shells of kings, but they are actually clowns who can be ridiculed. The so-called king. Makoto Takahashi spoke passionately with a trace of yearning in his eyes. Although the king controls the people, he is here for life. Although the king is with the people and becomes the existence that the people yearn for, but he is alone in the world. Although the king's belief is not stated clearly, it is integrated into the blood and soul of every person under the king's rule. What a true king has to do is to carry the hopes and aspirations of his people and keep moving forward. Even though he may become a lonely person in the end, so what? The king's thoughts may be guessed, but he will still be alone in the world. Because the only one who can truly understand the king is himself. By the way, aren't we discussing the ending of Lelich? Yoshida looked at Makoto Takahashi with a strange look on his face. Why do you feel like we are talking about the real king? And you are just a cartoonist. He's just an underage brat. No matter how you look at it, he has nothing to do with the so-called king. My beloved cat, you are indeed not fully evolved, you only have the wisdom of an ape. The suspected famous saying of Colonel Chu reappears. Okay. Yoshida surrendered and compromised. I roughly understand what you want to say. As the price of changing the world, Lelich finally made an unexpected sacrifice, betrayed everyone, and shouldered all the sins. My best friend and the person I love most all leave him, although I can understand it a little bit. Why do I feel so inexplicably sad? That's because you're not enlightened enough, my beloved cat. Makoto Takahashi's words sounded like a mockery. Now you feel you can't stand it? Haha, after I draw the story of the silly king, let you feel real heartache. The story of Kingdom Mao? Is it a new comic? Yoshida couldn't accept it. I don't care about the content of this new comic, but the name is really. Is it time for you to fulfill what you said before? Makoto Takahashi looked at Yoshida, who was trying to change the subject, with a gloomy expression. What is the reason that causes you dirty adults to break your promise? This, that. Yoshida was a little embarrassed, with a tangled look between his brows. When Makoto Takahashi was considering whether to send Yoshida to hell for a period of training, his cell phone rang, and the caller ID read Her Royal Highness the Imprisoned Princess. Cheng-kun, did you watch the live broadcast of the previous TV interview? Rina's tone was a little anxious. I saw it, and then even issued a declaration of war to the great demon King Ogata. Takahashi Makoto was a little anxious when he heard Rina's tone, and suddenly felt a very unhappy feeling in his heart. That annoying face immediately appeared on his mind. In front of me, did something happen? Did the great demon King G. Ogata do something bad again? The person I talked about in the live broadcast is you, Cheng-kun, Rina explained hurriedly. However, Rina's tone was a little anxious and she sounded like she was about to cry. Makoto-kun, do you believe what I say? Of course, I have always believed in what Her Royal Highness the Princess said, Makoto Takahashi said naturally. I am the King of Braves, a noble and loyal knight. But that tone seemed to be hiding something. Takahashi Makoto was a little suspicious. What on earth happened? Makoto-kun, please don't believe those reports. Rina was still a little uneasy. I'm going to record a song. I'll explain it to you later tonight. Takahashi Chen was speechless when he heard the phone call was hung up. What is going on? Don't believe what those reports are referring to. It's Rina-chan who called me, right? Yoshida looked as if he had no idea what to expect. As expected, I still can't hide it from you. Makoto Takahashi ignored Yoshida, but turned on the computer to check the recent news, and then the title of a news caught Makoto Takahashi's eye. The continuation of the love story, Koji who bravely fights for Ogata Rina. Koji, who is this person? Why does this name feel inexplicably familiar? Makoto Takahashi gently rubbed his head and complained while clicking on the web link. Recently, my memory has begun to fade. Is it a sequelae of time travel? It seems that the human body is really fragile. As everyone knows, I have achieved good results in different fields so far. Actor, writer, host, fashion designer. In addition to music, I want to show my world in different fields. This wish has not ended, but keeps burning in my heart. After the link was opened, there was a video screen showing a purple-haired guy with a pretty face, wearing strange clothes, standing in the center of a stage. He said with a smile on his face, I have two things to tell you today. Are you willing to listen? The first thing is that after this concert, I will stop all music-related activities, and then I will become a first-class cartoonist with Koji, no, Aoji Kaino, and join the Yuisha that future king's feast. The purple-haired boy's declaration made the audience exclaim. Does this little brother also want to participate? A smile appeared on Takahashi Makoto's face. He picked up the brush in his hand and kept spinning it, looking back at Yoshida. Not bad. But who sent the invitation? It's Heian King, or Lord Calamus. Or someone from your editorial department. But does this have something to do with Her Majesty? It is indeed a common tactic used by headline makers. Yoshida did not answer, but quickly turned his head away, as if he was afraid to look directly at Makoto Takahashi. And the second thing I want to say. Makino Anji in the center of the stage paused deliberately. Have you ever watched Rina-chan's talk show before? Compared to the person you are talking about, Rina-chan, are you curious? As of now, I no longer want to hide it. The person I have agreed to marry is Rina-chan. Will you give us your blessing? Together. Together, the audience cheered from below the stage, and the video ended here. With a pop sound, the paintbrush in Takahashi Makoto's hand was broken. Hey, my beloved cat. Did you invite this purple-haired slime? Makoto Takahashi had a weird smile on his face and stared at Yoshida. The editor-in-chief has been objecting, but this is decided by the board of directors. Yoshida lowered his head guiltily, trying to find an excuse that could appease Takahashi Makoto's anger, and with Makino Eiji's status as a big star, he may be able to more people join in the feast. I see, although Takahashi Makoto has been in the second grade state for a long time, the second grade does not affect his IQ. The change in the work content of the special guest judges, is it just for me? In the final analysis, it is just for profit. Such high-profile publicity can attract more people to participate in the feast. Presumably after this incident, Young Jump the sales volume will also increase a lot, right? I can understand this. That's great, Yoshida breathed a long sigh of relief, but looking at the cold smile on Makoto Takahashi's face, his heart was filled with relief. Understanding is understanding, but awful is awful. Makoto Takahashi looked disdainfully at Makino Eiji, who was boasting about himself in the video. On this occasion, he publicly declared that the awful is hoping that fans will support his work. Yoshida remained silent. And he deliberately misinterpreted the words of Her Highness the Princess, and shamelessly disclosed untrue things. Makoto Takahashi was completely angry. This bastard who doesn't know the heights of heaven and earth, who is obviously worse than a slime, actually dared to treat Her Highness the Princess in such a bad way. Peeping thoughts? My beloved cat. What? Yoshida suddenly felt an inexplicable chill when he heard Takahashi Makoto's strange voice, and his words became a little stuttered. What this bastard did was condoned by your editorial department, right? Makoto Takahashi put on a black windbreaker, took the wooden sword Toyako, and walked in front of Yoshida. Take me to the editorial department, the war has begun. War? Looking at Makoto Takahashi's weird outfit, Yoshida was a little worried, pointing at the wooden sword and said, well, you can't enter the Uesha editorial department with that thing. Is that so? Makoto Takahashi casually stabbed the wooden sword into the wall and said coldly, it doesn't matter, when necessary, I can also summon the King of Destruction Pineapple. It's not difficult to destroy the world with one blow. Seeing that the wooden sword was nailed to the wall so easily, Yoshida was sweating profusely, and he complained in his heart, I don't think there is any need to summon the King of Destruction Pineapple. With the force you just showed, it's easy to destroy the editorial department. My beloved cat, don't try to stop me. Looking at Yoshida, who was still hesitating, Takahashi Makoto sneered, insulting the feelings of Her Royal Highness the Princess and wantonly trampling on the feast held by us kings. I really want to see if that purple-haired bastard is prepared to bear the king's wrath. A middle school cartoonist. Author, MaleProtagonist Mao. Chapter 35. Takahashi Makoto sighed. Looking at Makoto Takahashi, who was all ready, Yoshida broke into a cold sweat. Isn't this guy planning to publicly declare war in the editorial department? My beloved cat, you should go back to the editorial office first. Makoto Takahashi walked to the door, stopped again, turned to look at Yoshida, with a confident smile on his face. Such a sudden attack, as I don't bother to do it. Fighting from the front openly is the way a king should be. So stop trying to contact the commander secretly. Do you think I don't know your plan? Thank you so much for your consideration. Yoshida wiped the cold sweat from his forehead, expressed gratitude, put away the mobile phone hidden behind his back, and asked tentatively, should I go back first? Go quickly, there are still a few hours before your death. Makoto Takahashi turned his back to Yashida and began to look for things in the study. When dusk falls, the bloodline ability is at its strongest, so be prepared. Yashida nodded silently, turned around and left quickly. The meaning revealed by Makoto Takahashi is already clear, he will go to the editorial office at dusk. Hee. Listening to the footsteps gradually leaving, Takahashi Makoto showed a strange smile on his face. Do you really think I will run to the editorial office angrily and make a fuss? If it makes such a fuss, after making things worse, the purple-haired bastard became afraid and ran away. This is not fun. A bastard should be a bastard. If he doesn't leave an indelible mark deep in his soul, he will forget himself. Identity, hee. Takahashi Makoto's deep and disintegrating laughter spread wantonly in the room. Cartoonist sighed. Makoto Takahashi is not the only angry person, there are also several other cartoonists participating in this event. The assistant of the King of Black Flame, Shinta Fukuda, this guy with naturally curly silver hair that makes people envy, jealousy, and straight silver hair, looks like a delinquent, but he is actually a man who loves comics from the bottom of his heart. Although he temporarily survived as an assistant to the King of Black Flame, he also participated in this event as he aspired to become a cartoonist. When he saw Makino Ayaji's high-profile declaration, Brother Fukuda was angry. He immediately started the 10-star mission, tried hard to call on his teammates, and tried to persuade them to join the mission, the crusade of the editorial department. The first one to receive the invitation was the duo. The plump and chubby uncle Nakai Yoshiro is in charge of drawing comics, and the beautiful elder sister Aoki Kurane is in charge of story creation. Although Nakai Takuro is just an assistant, he is still quite famous in the circle of cartoonists. Because this fat-looking uncle has unexpectedly dexterous hands and is famous for his delicate background painting skills. The person responsible for constructing the plot of the story is the beautiful elder sister Kang Shuhong. This seemingly gentle female college student actually has a very rich imagination and is quite good at story creation. The second person to receive the invitation is also a duo. They are actually classmates of Makoto Takahashi Junior High School, Landai and Huangmao Glasses. The reason why this good friend duo received the invitation was because Landai had worked under the King of Black Flame for a period of time before. Landai practiced under the King of Black Flame for a short period of time. After learning the skill of creativity comes from accumulation in life, he decisively betrayed the King of Black Flame, returned to his original combination with Mr. Huangmao Glasses, and the Arkan Mu Menjai combination was officially established and launched a challenge to the King of Black Flame. These people all expressed their anger and disdain for the purple-haired bastard's behavior, so at Fukuda's invitation, they all agreed to join the team copy and the editorial department's crusade. Because Akan Mu Menjai had to go to class, the team's task was postponed, and the time was delayed from noon to dusk. Speaking of class, by the way, Makoto Takahashi, on the pretext that he couldn't stand all the young ladies at school looking at me like they were looking at aliens, forced him to ask the school for spiritual practice. No, it was a break. A month's vacation. Task objective, editorial department side. Yashida returned to the editorial office with a troubled look on his face, and looked at his colleagues carefully. The look on his face turned from troubled to desperate, and he muttered in an absent-minded voice, "We adults, even if we add them all up, I'm afraid it's only a matter of time before we are destroyed by Takahashi Makoto." "Yashida, what are you doing?" The deputy editor, who also wore glasses like the editor-in-chief, walked to Yashida's side. "Didn't you go to Takahashi Makoto to get the drawings and comfort him about the special judges? Why are you still here?" "Editor-in-chief, I have something to tell you." Yashida ignored the deputy editor-in-chief and ran to the editor-in-chief's desk. "That Makino Ayaji who made a high-profile statement before seems to have caused some trouble this time. Is it because of that incident?" The editor-in-chief looked calm, "or is it because he failed to appease Takahashi Makoto?" "Actually, This is the reason, Yoshida didn't hide anything, and told the editor completely what he saw and heard at Takahashi Makoto's house, as well as the relationship between Takahashi Makoto and Ogata Rina. Things may be a little troublesome, the editor-in-chief's face did not change at all, but he frowned slightly. I will talk to Takahashi Makoto in person later. This matter may make us make a mistake. I'm very sorry, Yoshida bowed seriously. As the editor in charge, this kind of thing happened to the cartoonist in charge. It was a mistake in my work. It doesn't matter who is right or wrong anymore. What we need to do now is to have a good talk with Makoto Takahashi later. The editor-in-chief pushed up his glasses with a calm look on his face. If your heart is as clear as ice, you won't be surprised if the sky falls. Maybe this is the difference between editor-in-chief and editor. The dusk has finally arrived, and the 10-star mission, the crusade against the editorial department, has officially begun. Takahashi Makoto was wearing a black windbreaker with a ferocious mask on his head. He came to Yui Society amid the strange looks of passers-by. According to previous intelligence, the organization's headquarters seems to be on the 4th floor. Makoto Takahashi tightened his tight black windbreaker, took out a pair of bright red glasses from his coat pocket and put them on, with a smile on his face. With a strange smile, the king's cry echoes, the tempered aloof light, accompany the true overlord, and shine on the earth. Let the hammer of victory break the shield of the earth. The negotiation mode is activated, and the king's true name is liberated. Awaken. The soul of the aloof and unyielding overlord. Sure enough, only Takahashi Makoto, a true Unibu patient, can make such a declaration. Over there, Landai and the yellow-haired glasses guy completely witnessed the whole process. The two of them exchanged glances, and at the same time understood the meaning of good friends. They must never tell anything about knowing the middle school student Makoto Takahashi. This kind of thing is really embarrassing. Hey, you guys are here too. Makoto Takahashi spotted Landai, and ignored the "I don't know you, please go home quickly" look from the other party and walked straight over. Who are you? The person who asked was Fusion, who looked like the eldest brother among Landai's group. The silver-haired guy gently pulled the white scarf on his head, turned around and asked Landai, "Are you an acquaintance?" Although I really want to say that I don't know this Chuyunibu patient, Landai's face looked a little ugly, but in fact, Chuyuna-chan and we were classmates in the past. Nikaji Makoto, brother Fukuda, seems to have some misunderstandings about Takahashi Makoto's name. Anything is fine. Since everyone is here, let's go up. We must let the adults in the editorial department wake up. Oh, are you planning to form a group to clear the dungeon? Makoto Takahashi looked at the angry faces of the 4 people in front of him, and a pleasant smile appeared on his face. How about adding me as well? I originally planned to do this alone, said the mission. Oh? Are you also a participant in this event? The silver-haired brother Fukuda looked a little surprised. Are you also dissatisfied with what Makino Anji did? Yoshi, let's go up together with you. Wait a minute, the yellow-haired glasses man looked at Makoto Takahashi with some doubts. Secondary to, no, Chang, I remember you are a cartoonist who is serializing, and you don't seem to have participated in this event, right? But listen to you, the tone seems to be somewhat dissatisfied with Makino Anji's actions. Serialized, the silver-haired boy looked at Makoto Takahashi, his eyes filled with surprise and hostility, and asked Landai beside him, "Is this weird guy really a classmate of yours? What is the work being serialized now?" The completed work Destiny Note, and Lelich of the Rebellion are 2 that is currently being serialized. Mentioning this, Landai felt a little disappointed in his eyes. All his classmates have already been serialized, and he and his good partner seem to be still alive. The feeling of standing still, this sense of gap. Lelich of the Rebellion are 2. In other words, the guy in front of him is the so-called maddened demon god of the Phoenix Academy that Eiji Naizuma talks about every day. Yoshida was a little surprised and turned to look Mr. Huangmao. Glasses said, "Wait a minute, I remember when Destiny Note was serialized, it seemed to be 4 years ago, right? 4 years ago. At that time, Chen was still in the first grade of junior high school, right?" The fat Uncle Nakai looked shocked. If Eiji Arizuma is a genius, then this guy is definitely a monster. "Ah, none of this matters," the silver-haired guy roared in the team channel. "Since Takahashi Makoto is here, it means that he is dissatisfied with the editorial department's practices, which is naturally from our side, so let's go up like this." "Hey," the tallest, the guy with yellow hair and glasses who was walking at the end, pulled up his gay friend's clothes. "Do you remember that girl from before?" "That girl?" A confused look appeared on Lan Dai's face, his hair shook, and he looked at the yellow-haired glasses man with disdain. "Kairan, who are you talking about? Is it time to consider which girl you want to consider now? Besides, aren't you with Mayashi-san?" "I'm talking about the girl who was with Chen Er on the night you confessed your love to Yadu." The man with yellow-haired glasses quietly pointed at Makoto Takahashi with his hand. "I remember you told me that night, that girl seemed to be Chu Er Cheng's roommate before." "It's Ogatarina," Lan Dai suddenly reacted and exclaimed. "I remember hearing Suzuki and the others say before that Ogatarina seemed to have become an idol singer after transferring to Tokyo. In other words, it's 80% correct." The yellow-haired glasses gentleman pushed up his glasses with a gossipy look on his face. "The reason why Nakaji Makoto came here is probably because of the high-profile declaration of Makaino Anji." "Oh, is it because did Zhong Cheng feel unhappy after being dumped and come to put pressure on the editorial department? Things seem to be getting interesting." "I don't think so," Lan Dai replied softly with one eye closed. The group was stopped by a very polite security uncle. Before the silver-haired young man Fukuda could speak, Takahashi Makoto spoke. "Don't doubt it, we are cartoonists. We came to the editorial department of Shonen Jump to discuss some things. Now go to the front desk to handle the formalities." The security uncle smiled awkwardly and returned to his original position. Takahashi Makoto nodded complacently. A good start, a single kill, and the first blood was in hand. "Welcome. May I ask what can I do for you?" The front desk was still the beautiful big sister, with a professional sweet smile. Very professional questions. The questioning was only halfway through, and it stopped because of Takahashi Makoto's exaggerated dress. "Please help us complete the registration procedures for entering the interior." Takahashi Makoto pushed his glasses. "For the contact person, fill in my dependents. It should be Yoshida. Of course, you can also contact the editor-in-chief." "This." The big sister at the front desk hesitated for a moment, picked up the phone in her hand, and started to contact Yoshida. "By the way, please convey a message to me. There is more than one person coming here." Takahashi Makoto pointed at the people behind him and raised his glasses slightly. "By the way, when you talk to Yoshida, ask him if the editorial department is ready to apologize for the arrival of the king." You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. A middle school cartoonist. Author, Mao Do Sde Mao. Chapter 36. Oh, please come up. After learning that Takahashi Makoto was not the only one coming, Yoshida sighed, immediately turned to his colleagues around him, and shouted loudly, "Hattori, Yujiro, Aida, the cartoonist in charge of you is also here with Makoto Takahashi." Huh? Aida, Hattori, and Yujiro were a little stunned, and they reacted instantly. It was probably related to the high-profile declaration of Makaino Anji. In this event, it is said that the top 3 in the popularity vote will be able to enter the serialization meeting and start serialization. Makoto Takahashi looked at the 4 people around him and began to sell information, and as long as the serialization starts, it will be considered a default participation, the feast of the future king. I think your editor has talked to you about the feast in detail, right? A very good idea, the silver-haired boy praised it unreservedly. After hearing about this feast before, I feel like my blood is burning. From the quality, quantity, and sales of comics, it is all round decide the outcome. This is the battle between men. Thank you for your praise. Makoto Takahashi nodded slightly, then his face became serious. The reason why I proposed such a banquet was to allow more cartoonists to participate. But Makainuji, the yellow-haired glasses man, pushed up his glasses. At the concert, he announced in a high profile that he would participate in this comic and asked his fans to support him. This is no longer relying on comics to determine the outcome. That's right, that purple-haired bastard. Makoto Takahashi's tone was filled with chills. Sure enough, bastard is a bastard. He is clearly inferior to a slime, yet he still wants to participate in this feast in a despicable way. This is an insult to the feast and tramples on the dignity of our cartoonists. Speaking of which, I feel that Cheng is full of resentment towards Makaya Angji. The yellow-haired glasses man pushed Landai. Isn't it because I was right? Maybe, not. Landai was a little unsure this time. Everyone came to the editorial office. Makoto Takahashi and the silver-haired guy were at the front, followed by 3 other people walking side by side. Wait, what do you want to say? Just tell me first. The person speaking, Takahashi Makoto has met, is the editor of the Black Flame King, and it seems that he is also the editor of the silver-haired brother Yujiro. Have you read those reports? Fusion took out the newspaper in his hand and threw it to the ground, his eyes filled with anger. Isn't this too despicable? You silver-haired brother, let me handle this. Makoto Takahashi stopped the impulsive Fukuda, raised his head and looked directly at the editor. Yoshida should have told you, editor-in-chief. Now I need you to give me a reasonable and satisfactory explanation. The overlord soul of Makoto Takahashi awakens, and the negotiation mode enters the highest level. Additional effects: darkening, shaking S, poisonous tongue, maximizing communication skills. If it's because of Makai no Eiji's matter. The editor-in-chief was silent for a moment and finally spoke, but was interrupted by Makoto Takahashi. Oh, is that so? Uncle Editor-in-Chief, it seems that you are not old enough for memory loss, Makoto Takahashi said with a smile on his face. Let me help you recall it. My new wife Eiji and my eldest grandson Iris were invited as the special judges for this event. Seem to be your editorial department, right? Well, Makoto Takahashi, please wait a moment. I haven't explained this matter to you in detail yet. Yoshida tried to explain to Makoto Takahashi, but Makoto Takahashi smiled strangely in return. Yoshida, in fact, there is no need to explain at all. I also know the whole story. Makoto Takahashi quickly walked up to the editor-in-chief and gently knocked on the editor's desk. You invited the 3 of us as special judges before, and finally the idea at the beginning was good. I hope that by revealing the ages of the 3 of us, we can stimulate the comic industry and let more people join this feast. Is that right? Absolutely correct. The editor looked up at Makoto Takahashi without making too many choices. However, the development of things started to develop in a negative direction when that purple-haired bastard Makai no Eiji jumped out. Makoto Takahashi did not hide his disgust for Makai no Eiji at all. The top 3 in this event will enter the serialization meeting and get serialization. But the way to get the top 3 is through reader voting, am I right? This is not necessarily the case. Although some works did not reach the top 3, they still have the opportunity to be serialized. The editor launched a counterattack. After giving Landai a nonchalant look, he said slowly, as long as it is an interesting comic, it will be serialized. Being able to be serialized is what Shonen Jump insists on. Good understanding. Makoto Takahashi nodded in agreement, but that purple-haired bastard actually wants to use fans to swipe votes. This kind of behavior is very unfair to those who participated in this event. but it is more important. The thing is, that bastard approach is completely destroying the feast of the future king. Don't you, editor-in-chief, understand? This approach will make many cartoonists who want to join the feast feel afraid and run away. Perhaps we didn't think carefully. The fact is just as you said, the editor-in-chief thought about Takahashi Makoto's words carefully and looked a little solemn. So what is the answer from your editorial department? The smile on Takahashi Makoto's face did not change at all, but the chill in his eyes became more and more intense. You are the editor-in-chief, so you should be able to make the decision, right? Based on your answer, I will make a corresponding response measures. By the way, Yoshida should have told you something, and you should know some things, right? I know what you are referring to. A trace of determination flashed in the editor's eyes, but I still say the same thing, as long as the comics are interesting. Wise choice. The smile on Takahashi Makoto's face became fuller, and the cold light in his eyes also faded a lot. It's easy to talk to smart people. But I regret to say. Regret? No, I don't think so. The editor-in-chief looked at Makoto Takahashi carefully. If I'm not wrong, the backup plan you prepared should be Ogatarina, right? As long as she holds a press conference, she will. If everything is made clear, then everything Maki Anji did would be a complete joke. No, you guessed wrong about this. Makoto Takahashi looked at the drawings on the table. That was not the so-called back trick, but one of the killer moves that made that purple-haired bastard fall into the abyss. The girl is pure. How can you use your feelings? And you are just facing a purple-haired bastard, and you don't even need to use your full strength. Then I'll wait and see. The editor-in-chief gave Makoto Takahashi an I understand look. Then the next thing to do is leave it to me. Makoto Takahashi confidently snapped his fingers and turned back to his teammates. Tallest, Akito, Fukuda, and Uncle Nakai. Takahashi-chan drew everyone's attention to him as soon as he opened his mouth. As long as the comics are interesting, they can be serialized. I said so. Can you understand? I can probably understand. Landai was the one who spoke. As long as he can win, it's fine. Use content to defeat Makaya Anji. If he wins the first place because of the fans' votes, that doesn't count as strength. For those who really like comics, you will understand good comics and bad comics only after reading them. So we defeated him in terms of content, showed our true strength, and decided in an upright manner. Humph. That's pretty cool. The silver-haired guy curled his lips in displeasure, and the anger in his eyes dissipated a lot, but I agree. Let that purple-haired bastard see what a real comic is. Home. It's interesting, it's so interesting. A strange smile appeared on Takahashi Makoto's face, and he turned to look at the editor-in-chief. By the way, my comic Lelich of the Rebellion R2 has been completed, so for this event I want to participate too. This won't work, the editor-in-chief refused without any hesitation. What you do is unfair to other cartoonists. Listen to what I have to say first. Makoto Takahashi took off his red glasses. My work can be published at the end. This way, my advantage can be reduced. This reason is not enough. The editor thought for a moment, then shook his head and refused. Of course, for this work, I will not use the pen name Phoenix Academy Fierce Truth to paint this work. Makoto Takahashi did not care about the editor's rejection, and showed a determined look on his face. And the subject matter I chose, it will be a comic that mainly describes music. This. The editor-in-chief was hesitant this time. Takahashi Makoto's proposal, no matter how you looked at it, seemed to be directed at Makino Aoji, and it was hard to refuse. Isn't that enough? Makoto Takahashi frowned. I drew this comic to completely crush the purple-haired bastard into scum. At the same time, I also told that bastard what real music is. What do you mean? The editor was a little confused. Are you? Yes, that's what I mean. Makoto Takahashi showed a fanatical look on his face and smiled confidently. In my new works, Every song I write will be appended to the comic drawings. Go up to the music score and let that purple-haired bastard understand that ants can be ants with peace of mind, and bastards can be determined to be bastards. If you dare to challenge the dignity of the king and disrupt the king's feast, then as a king, you will naturally let that bastard sink in the abyss of despair. There is no way out. Can you really do this? The editor looked at Makoto Takahashi with some doubt. I know you can play the piano, but composing this kind of thing, can you really do it as a cartoonist? If you can really do it, I agree with you to participate in this event. But first, if what you say doesn't come true, I will definitely cut your comics in half. Of course, Makoto Takahashi laughed confidently. By the way, my results don't need to be counted in this event. Because I have only one purpose, which is to completely destroy that purple-haired bastard. Okay, the editor-in-chief finally nodded. In that case, you can participate in this event. But you only have 2 weeks. Is it still too late to draw new works? 2 weeks, Makoto Takahashi calculated silently, raised his head and looked at everyone. That's enough. A middle school cartoonist. Author, MaleProtagonist. Chapter 37. The silver-haired guy suggested that since we want to defeat the purple-haired bastard in terms of content, we should unite and go to the place where the King of Black Flame trains to compete with each other. No, they should give each other opinions on the storyboard drafts to further improve each other works. A large group of people boarded the tram and headed towards the secluded place of the Black Flame King. Since Takahashi Makoto left Ueshe, he has become a little depressed, without any of the arrogance and domineering momentum he had just now. "HN, why do you look so lackluster? Where did that momentum go?" The silver-haired guy patted Takahashi Makoto's shoulder hard. "This is not okay. Since you want to participate in this event, then I will also treat you as a competitor. After killing that purple-haired bastard, let's have a showdown." Being possessed by the Overlord's soul consumes more magic power than I expected, Makoto Takahashi said in a weak voice. "Don't worry, it's a side effect." Huh? The silver-haired guy looked confused, because he couldn't understand what Makoto Takahashi was talking about, so he laughed awkwardly. "I see, then you should have a good rest. By the way, your performance before was very good. At that time, I was still thinking that if this protest didn't work, I would give Yujiro a good beating first, and then I would invite you to quit this unfair competition." "Quit?" Makoto Takahashi looked at everyone thoughtfully, nodded, with a smile on his face. "Are you willing to die and live again? This is a good realization, silver-haired brother. You all want to participate in this event. Come on, and hurry up and start serializing." Taiwan Novel Network Rightward Arrow. Of course, the silver-haired guy nodded. "Yoshi, it's decided. Not only will we defeat that purple-haired bastard this time, we will also enter the series. The same goes for you." Of course, Landai and Huangmao glasses were full of energy and fighting spirit. "Me too. I'm betting my whole life this time." The fat Uncle Nakavi seemed to have thought of something, and there was a very twitchy expression on his face. The group of people dispersed midway. Uncle Nakavi had to wait for Sister Soju Hong, the original author of the comic, and was abandoned on the platform. As for Takahashi Makoto, he received a call from Her Royal Highness the Princess and abandoned his teammates on the way forward. "Makoto-kun, Rina said with some hesitation, "I'm sorry for calling you so late." "Princess, you are worrying too much." After a period of rest, it seemed that the side effects of the Overlord's soul possession had passed, and Makoto Takahashi's voice regained its vitality. "As a knight, my sword will kill your enemies for you, my shield will resist all attacks for you. As long as I can stay by the princess's side, I will be satisfied." "Makoto-san." Perhaps it was because of Takahashi Saichuji's words that Rina made up her mind. This time Rina did not escape. "Have you read those reports? Have you read them?" "Yes, but I believe in the princess. Makoto Takahashi replied firmly, because the existence of the princess is the meaning of our night's survival. The sword in our hands, the shield in our hands, and in this life, everything exists because of Her Majesty the Princess. As long as we can protect Her Majesty's smile, we will never retreat even if the world is full of enemies and we are covered in scars. Makoto-kun, thank you, thank you. Rina was already crying. Brother-in-law, where are you? On the other side of the phone, Makoto Takahashi was just about to comfort the princess when he heard a cheerful voice, "Ah, my sister was made to cry by her brother-in-law. This matter, Iris needs to tell Brother Ogata." This voice, is it really you, Lord Iris? Makoto Takahashi had a dark look on his face, especially after hearing the name of the great demon king Ogata again. It seems that my guess was correct, Iris, you are indeed the subordinates of the great demon king Ogata. In this case, stay away from my princess. No. No, the phone seemed to have been occupied by Iris, and Rina's cry could no longer be heard. The only voice that rang in Takahashi-chan's ears was Akira's strange laughter. Hey, brother-in-law, do you know what I'm going to do later? What are you going to do? Listening to the tone of Akira's voice and the weird laughter, Takahashi Makoto frowned, feeling an ominous premonition. Hiss. As if something was being torn apart, before Takahashi-chan could react, he heard the voice of Icarus like a little devil. Brother-in-law, guess what color trousers my sister is wearing today? If you guess correctly, I will give you benefits. You are not allowed to secretly look at your sister's photos. With a pop, Makoto Takahashi hung up the phone decisively, the corners of his mouth twitching continuously. It seems that I am too naive, Makoto Takahashi sighed. I originally thought that Iris had the attribute of being a foodie, but I didn't expect that Iris has such a bad side. He is worthy of being a subordinate of the great demon king Ogata. It seems that the one who saved the princess, the plan must be implemented as soon as possible. When Takahashi Makoto arrived at the residence of the King of Black Flame, he found that everyone was here, and the atmosphere felt a bit subtle. Oh! I found the master of the Phoenix Academy, the King of Braves. The King of Black Flame jumped in front of Takahashi Makoto and gave a non-standard salute. I heard what happened today from Fukuda, and he is indeed a phoenix. The teacher from the hospital said it. Of course, using trap card Call from Hell, Makoto Takahashi, possessed by the soul of the Overlord, was specially summoned back to the field. The purple-haired bastard is declaring war on the king. As the host of the banquet, I am already merciful. If it were Angel of Annihilation Ling, after being interrupted at the tea party, I would definitely carry a sickle. Said the one who drove the Gangdamupadil Mathil over. Oh! Angel of Annihilation, the Black Flame King's eyes were filled with excitement. He quickly returned to the drawing table and began to draw. I thought of a good character. Wow. So, what's the result of your discussion? Takahashi Makoto ignored the King of Black Flame, who was in drawing mode, and turned to the 5 cartoonists, the people under my rule. If you need help, you're welcome. Just speak up. It is the duty of a king to lead his people forward. Originally I wanted to hear your opinion, Chang, but... Landai shook his head silently. I'm worried that the plot that Chiran finally came up with will be infected by a virus called Shuyunibu, so I don't think so. Do you think so too? Takahashi-chan looked at the other 3 people in the 2 groups with a cold face. Of course, I am very confident in my comics. The silver-haired boy Fukuda also refused to help. I don't need it either. Kang Shuhong, who looked like a young lady, gently sipped her black tea. I think everyone here has the confidence in their own works. You guys. Makoto Takahashi glanced around, and a smile suddenly appeared on his face. It's very good. Where are the so-called cartoonists? Makoto Takahashi threw back his black coat like a cloak. If you don't even have this little bit of self-confidence, you will never succeed. Your self-confidence comes from your works. It comes from your soul. Soul. This way of speaking, Lan Dai and Huang Mao glasses seemed to have thought of something, and couldn't help but lower their heads at the same time, not daring to look directly at Takahashi Makoto. You will definitely defeat the purple-haired bastard this time. Makoto Takahashi seemed to be cheering for everyone again, because that slime bastard is too obsessed with his own world, self-righteous and extremely arrogant. Human beings, if such a stupid creature loses its mind due to arrogance, no matter how powerful it is, it will eventually fail. This is the truth that reality gives to human beings, and the right despair for those who are arrogant and excessive. Oh, he's so handsome. The Black Flame King had stopped painting and looked at Makoto Takahashi with gleaming eyes. Keep going, Phoenix Academy teacher. So, we should let the purple-haired bastard feel the right despair, and let that slime remember his identity. The expression on Makoto Takahashi's face suddenly became sacred. God will not give up on everyone, even if he is arrogant and depraved, we still have to save him. This is God's teaching, this is God's will. This is the reason why we must win. Because we are justice, and justice will prevail. I can feel that Cheng has been possessed by Yashinayu now, Mr. Huang Mao glasses quietly complained to Lan Dai. I have doubted before that how Cheng came up with a work like Destiny Note. It's coming, but now. Now, what's wrong now? Lan Dai looked at Takahashi Cheng in confusion. I think Chuyuni Cheng's Chuyunibu seems to be more serious. Ah, yes, the yellow-haired glasses gentleman pushed up his glasses, with a look of dumbfounding on his face. So now, even if Cheng suddenly throws an apple and then the unknown god of death eats it in 2 or 3 times, I won't be surprised either. Oh. Justice will win. Justice will win. At this time, the one who is still repeating this sentence happily is probably the only person present is the King of Black Flame, right? Makoto Takahashi seemed to want to say something else, but his phone suddenly rang with a new text message. Makoto Takahashi opened his phone and checked it with some doubts. His expression suddenly changed and he quickly walked towards the living room. Secondary 2, Cheng, what happened? The man with yellow-haired glasses looked at Makoto Takahashi, who seemed to be preparing to flee, with a curious look on his face. Who is the person who just sent the message? The minions of the great demon King Ogata. Makoto Takahashi cursed without looking back and quickly ran to the door. But after Makoto Takahashi opened the door, he looked at the 2 people standing in front of him and couldn't help but feel frustrated. Damn it, is it too late? Brother-in-law, good evening, Calamus saluted politely, pretending to have a good upbringing. You were able to find this place? Takahashi Makoto broke out in cold sweat. Has my intelligence system been breached? It seems that I really underestimated the intelligence agency of the great demon Lord Ogata. No, Mr. Yoshida kindly told us. Icarus showed a cute smile on his face and decisively sold Yoshida. My beloved cat, is it really you? Makoto Takahashi gritted his teeth, wishing he could cut Yoshida's body into pieces and put it in the refrigerator. That guy is very brave for daring to betray the king. While Takahashi Makoto was still muttering and complaining about Yoshida, Rina came to Takahashi Makoto with red eyes and looked at Takahashi Makoto affectionately without saying a word. I have already heard what Yoshida said, Cheng-kun, Rina said slowly, her voice trembling perhaps because she had cried just now. Thank you. Don't look at me with that look, Your Highness. Makoto Takahashi's new skill awakened, personality transformation. Just a moment ago, he looked like he wanted to destroy the world, but in the blink of an eye, he turned into the most loyal knight of Her Royal Highness the Princess. It is my honor to share your troubles. It is my bounden duty to get you out of trouble. So, Your Royal Highness, please don't say thank you. Rina gently wiped the tears from the corners of her eyes, threw herself into Takahashi Makoto's arms, and hugged Takahashi Makoto tightly. Did you see that? Makoto Takahashi hugged Rina and looked at the silently watching party before, filled with rage. This is the reason why we must win. A middle school cartoonist. Author, Mao Do Sde Mao. Chapter 38. A whole week has passed since Makoto Takahashi announced the war declaration in the editorial department. Not to mention the song, Yoshida has not even received the draft. Speaking of this kid Makoto Takahashi, could it be that he can't draw? Yoshida looked doubtful. Although comics and music belong to the same entertainment field, in fact, the two are completely different fields. Arriving at the door of Makoto Takahashi's room, Yoshida stretched out his hand to knock on the door, but when he saw the note on the door, he was immediately furious. The following creatures are prohibited from entering: the traitors of my cats, the great demon King Ogata and his minions, the purple-haired bastards. Open the door quickly, Takahashi Makoto. Yoshida was instantly possessed by an ant, and knocked on the door angrily. Open the door quickly, I know you are inside. Please chant the spell, or offer a bloody sacrifice. Takahashi Makoto's low voice came from behind the door, sounding a little weak. If the spell is not correct, or if the bloody sacrifice is not offered, then those who try to disturb the king's sleep will be punished by the gods and cursed by the devil. I am Yoshida, Takahashi Makoto, open the door quickly. Yoshida suppressed angry, he began to use provocation to Takahashi Makoto. How is your new work going? The draft has to be submitted in a week. You are so closed, is it because you haven't finished it? I think so. Is the rebel outside the door? Takahashi Makoto sneered. Do you want the comic draft? Complete the trial of hell. The trial of hell? Yoshida was a little confused, and then he seemed to remember something. His face turned pale. Could it be? The door was opened. Takahashi Makoto was holding a pile of dark matter with unknown identity in his hand, and looked at Yoshida with a smile on his face. When Yoshida came to his senses, he found that it was dark. Takahashi Makoto sat cross-legged on the sofa, his eyes closed and frowned, his hands clasped together, and he muttered something. Takahashi Makoto, what are you doing? Looking at Takahashi Makoto in a very strange posture, Yoshida asked curiously, are you thinking about the plot of the comics? The starry sky tonight is very suitable. Takahashi Makoto opened his eyes and looked at Yoshida calmly. Can't you see this? I am feeling the existence of the eighth sense, called Alaya consciousness. Alas, as expected, you can only become a silver saint at most in this life. Takahashi Makoto, how is your comic draft? Yoshida directly ignored Takahashi Makoto's ridicule, and instead comforted Takahashi Makoto. Although you are an excellent cartoonist, writing songs is still not as good as professionals. Makino Koji is a professional. Huh? What are you talking about? Takahashi Makoto showed a disdainful expression on his face. Facing that kind of scum, there is no need to use all your strength. Then where is the comic draft? Yoshida looked around and didn't find anything similar. West sighed a little disappointedly. Even the storyboards haven't been drawn yet. Oh. Takahashi Makoto, I know you hate that Makino Koji, but sometimes. Manga or storyboard, which one do you want? Takahashi Makoto suddenly interrupted Yoshida, or do you want to listen to the music in the manga? Wait, you mean? Yoshida was surprised. Not only have the storyboards and manga been completed, but also the original songs in the manga have been completed. What's wrong with your unbelieving tone? Although Takahashi Makoto was a little unhappy, he still took out the manga from under his cloak and handed it to Yoshida. As for the song, the piano piece in the first episode is a double concerto. Because Her Highness the Princess is not here, I'm sorry that you can't listen to it for the time being. Yoshida didn't care about not being able to hear the original song, but snatched the drawing from Takahashi Makoto's hand and began to read it carefully. Music lover and Nana, this name made Yoshida feel that it was difficult to complain. He suppressed a sense of disobedience and began to read carefully, while Makoto Takahashi looked at Yoshida nervously, and for the first time in his life, he showed an expression called worry. The reason why Makoto Takahashi was a little worried was that this comic was actually adapted by Makoto Takahashi from his previous life symphony, Certain two words will be blocked, so let's use this name, and Nana. At the beginning, Makoto Takahashi decided to completely destroy the purple-haired bastards. Of course, it was not just talk, but a real action. At the beginning, Makoto Takahashi actually only planned to draw Nana, but this comic involves too many aspects: friendship, love, life ideals, rock music, popular brands, life attitudes, etc. The audience of this work will also become very wide. If it can be serialized, it will definitely achieve excellent results. But for Shonen Jump, Nana is a little off topic and doesn't conform to its three major principles. This is the first reason. Second, Takahashi Makoto wants to try out his ability to control the plot. Even if there is a search engine, he can't rely on it forever, right? This fan work is Takahashi Makoto's test work. Third, it's because of Rina. That night, watching Rina crying, Takahashi Makoto was angry, but also had an indescribable feeling. Makoto Takahashi doesn't know how much pressure Rina has been under in order to pursue herself all this time, and she doesn't even dare to imagine. In Symphony, Nodame has been working tirelessly for her crush, Prince Kayaki, from an innocent little girl. All she wants is to get closer to Kayaki. In order to be with the one I love, I even gave up my original relaxed and joyful life. Rina and Nodame, the way they fight for love is so similar. The arrogant Prince Kayaki fell in love with Nodame in the end, so how could he not know how to cherish Rina if he was just a Chuyuni patient who came through time? This comic is not so much a work used to crush the purple-haired bastard, but it is more a response to Takahashi Makoto's feelings for Rina. Mozart, Beethoven, Rachmaninoff. Yoshida looked at these exotic names, and the corners of his mouth kept twitching. Generally speaking, when cartoonists create characters, they will refer to reality, but these people have never heard of it. That's really the tragedy of this world, Makoto Takahashi sighed with regret. In the world I used to live in, they were the top musicians and left their names in history. What on earth is this sad world like? What's going on? Here we go again. Yoshida frowned and complained, after all, you are now a high school student. You have Shuyunibu and so on. It's time to graduate, right? This is not Shuyunibu, bastard, Makoto Takahashi roared angrily, as if a certain heartstring was triggered, you bastards. I have said it many times. I am a time traveler, it's from another world. You all don't believe it at all, but it's the truth. Do you really think that I really want to be regarded as a patient with Shuyunibu? Makoto Takahashi looked gloomy and shouted hoarsely, coming to this strange world alone, I am full of fear. I want to integrate into this world. What should the world do? It is impossible to become a top student. After all, it was already very hard for me to graduate from college in my previous life. The level of technology in my previous life was not as good as this world in some aspects. I am not a scientific researcher. It is impossible to create artificial intelligence or anything like that. In my previous life, I was just an ordinary office worker, an otaku who liked games and anime. Are you really a time traveler or something, an almighty Superman or someone who saves the world? It exists. I want to say. Before Yoshida could finish his words, he was interrupted by Makoto Takahashi. Listen to me, Makoto Takahashi was extremely angry. I don't have a strong heart to integrate into the world and into life without changing my expression. What should I do at this time? Iruka in Naruto, when his parents after both deaths, he transformed into a funny look in order to fit in with his classmates. Do you really think he is stupid? Do you ever understand the loneliness in our hearts? Although there is a golden finger like a search engine in my brain. Makoto Takahashi paused and looked at Yoshida coldly, but the loneliness, the fear, the uneasiness in my heart, tell me how to eliminate it? Apart from pretending to be a Chuyunibu patient, what should I do? I don't have shuyunibu at all. Generally during the period of junior high school, boys and girls in the delusional stage gradually form a mixture of self-awareness and irrational fantasies, resulting in strange words and deeds. Yoshida stroked his forehead feebly and looked at Gao sarcastically. Chiao Cheng, whether it's a traveler from a parallel world or a search engine in the brain, this kind of fantasy that one has special abilities and is trapped in the supernatural is a symptom of shuyunibu. These are your own definitions of shuyunibu, do you want to deny them now? Haha. Makoto Takahashi's face was filled with a desperate smile, and he looked at Yoshida in disbelief. Do you really think I have a shuyunibu? Confirmed without a doubt, Yoshida seemed to feel that the damage was not enough, and continued to hit the corpse with a knife. It's not just me, I think everyone who knows you thinks so, including the princess in your heart. Ha 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 ha. Makoto Takahashi suddenly laughed wildly. The weird smile on his face looked like he had been tricked, and a painful light flashed in his eyes. Am I doing this on my own? Well, I am a shuyunibu patient. Since you all think so, no matter how hard I try to explain, it's in vain, right? Are you occasionally missing the second grade? Yoshida showed a satisfied look on his face. It's good to be able to understand yourself correctly. It seems that you will be able to graduate from the second grade soon. No one believes the true truth, but it is treated as a shuyunibu. Makoto Takahashi showed a self-deprecating expression on his face, and his smile gradually began to break. At this moment, I finally understand. Those the heroes who wanted to go back from the future to save the world failed because no one in the world believed in them. Okay, let's end the discussion of shuyunibu. Yoshida clapped his hands vigorously. Now let's discuss the issue of comics. As for your work, I always feel that it can actually be drawn into two comics. Nota: the story of Megami and Kayaki Shinichi can be regarded as one comic, the story of Nana and Nana can be regarded as another comic. There is no problem in the continuity of the plots of the two, but it always feels a bit pity. Humph. What a pity. The expression on Takahashi Makoto's face seemed to still maintain a broken smile. From classical music to pop music, I will destroy that purple-haired bastard into pieces in all aspects. Takahashi Makoto, please don't show a look of the whole world misunderstood you on your face. What's wrong with your expression of wanting to destroy the world? Yoshida had a headache. So, shuyunibu and the like will be prohibited in the future. Shuyunibu and the like, I'm afraid I won't be able to graduate in this life. Takahashi Makoto seemed to want to make a final effort, shouting loudly, the whole world misunderstood me as having shuyunibu, I will drag the world to hell with me. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. A middle school cartoonist. Author, MaleProtagonist Mao. Chapter 39. In an open-air coffee shop, Yoshida was frowning, flipping through pages of Makoto Takahashi's manga manuscripts, while Makoto Takahashi was happily eating ice cream, completely heartless. Look. Takahashi Makoto, can you be more serious? Yoshida said with a cold face, looking at Takahashi Makoto getting angry. Now we are not here to eat ice cream, but to discuss your new manga, do you understand? Huh? But if I don't eat dessert, my brain's thinking ability will be reduced. Makoto Takahashi looked unhappy. He squatted on the chair with his legs curled up and started to play a building block game with the sugar cubes on the table. Yakama-san, do you have any good suggestions for finding Kira? If I had that notebook, the first name written on it must be Takahashi Makoto. After Yoshida complained, he put the comic manuscript on the table and began to elaborate. First of all, let's talk about the construction of the story. Nothing to be dissatisfied with. Of course, Makoto Takahashi said matter-of-factly, did you see the name written in the author's column? Lelich L. Light Yagami. Gather the wisdom of these three people and create the work that came out is already a waste for the purple-haired bastard. Don't get too carried away, kid. Yoshida's mouth twitched. What a weird name that is. Forget it, why are you complaining about your name? What's important now is the manga manuscript, the manga manuscript. So do you have any questions about the manga manuscript? Makoto Takahashi suddenly became serious. This sudden change of personality made Yoshida very unhappy. If you have any questions, just say it. I forgive you. Huh. Yoshida took a long and deep breath several times, and began to impose on himself the self-suggestion of I am the editor. After calming down for a while, he began to point out the problems with Takahashi Makoto's manga manuscript. The problem lies with the characters. Megami Noda with Kayaki Shinichi, this is the protagonist of the manga, right? But in the second chapter, the aura of Ozaka Nana is so strong and eye-catching. This will give readers the illusion that this woman is the heroine. In a work, the relationship between the heroine and the hero is the key to guiding the entire plot. But the outline you showed me before was not like this. The main plot of what you wrote before was about Noda. The story of Hwei trying to pursue her dreams and love. Makoto Takahashi was silent, looking at Yoshida blankly as if looking at a rare animal again. My beloved is a cat. It was only then that I realized that you are really not an ordinary person. You are worthy of being my beloved cat. Is this a boast? Yoshida was a bit dumbfounded. By the way, I have a question. Although you only drew the content of the first 3 chapters, but these first 3 chapters, what I saw was not 1 work, but 2. The story of Megami Noda and Shinichi Kayaki is mostly funny, but the story between the 2 girls Nana and Nana is very close to reality and has a sense of reality that happened around me. The work seemed to have been forcibly adapted by you and merged together. Oh! Amazing, really amazing, my beloved cat. Makoto Takahashi admired from the bottom of his heart this time. Yoshida is really a great editor. He was able to spot so many problems after just reading 3 episodes. He lives up to his reputation as a responsible editor. This is just from an editor's perspective. Looking at the shocked Makoto Takahashi, Yoshida suddenly felt a sense of satisfaction. That's right, it's a sense of presence. Perhaps for other cartoonists, especially those who have just debuted, the quality of an editor will have a great impact on them. After their debut, many cartoonists either blindly obeyed the editor's arrangements, or even abandoned the original intention and idea of drawing cartoons, and became obedient puppets. Their grades got worse and worse, and they were eventually cut off miserably. Those who are overconfident, never listen to the words of the editor in charge, are completely immersed in a state of feeling good about themselves, and completely ignore the suggestions given by the editor. They may succeed for a while, but failure is a frequent visitor at home. But Makoto Takahashi gave Yoshida a different feeling. There are rarely problems in Makoto Takahashi's works. Although sometimes it is difficult for Yoshida as a reader to accept it, at such times, Makoto Takahashi always gives reasonable explanations and tries his best to convince Yoshida. No fuss, just a few simple words, and Yoshida, who is both a reader and editor, accepted it completely and was speechless. Yoshida even has a feeling recently that he is starting to doubt whether he can really be a good editor for Makoto Takahashi. Although this middle-class kid is often in a state of being a middle-class kid, he doesn't need Yoshida's guidance at all when drawing comics. This makes Yoshida feel uneasy. But looking at Makoto Takahashi's new work today, Yoshida suddenly found a sense of presence, which made Yoshida let out a long sigh of relief. It turns out that this kid is not impeccable in every work. So, my beloved cat, what do you think should be changed? Makoto Takahashi looked like he was open to teaching, which made Yoshida very satisfied. If it's not enough, it would be even more perfect if I could change my name. I think something needs to be changed here. Yoshida pointed to the second episode where Nana appeared. At first glance, you can feel her strong aura. Such a person is very special, and at the same time he has a strong influence on those around him. People and things have an indifferent attitude, and Nota Megami looks like the kind of innocent little girl. To be honest, if there are no accidents between two people in reality, they will only pass each other by each other at most, and there will be no accidents at all. What chance is involved? So what? Makoto Takahashi listened attentively, and at this moment he realized that Yoshida, the editor, indeed has real talent and learning. So the key point of the story is still Matsumoto Nana. Yoshida pointed to Nana's close-up drawing and talked eloquently. Although the characteristics of this character look somewhat similar to Nota Megami, they are essentially different. According to your, the setting is that Nana and Megami Nota were playmates who grew up together. Then they met Nana on the train and developed admiration for Nana, so Nana's existence is the most important thing between the three girls. The key existence. As Yoshida spoke, he suddenly fell silent. My beloved cat, have you been released from silence? Makoto Takahashi was a little confused, but his eyes were more confused. Keep talking, how should we design the subsequent development? Think about this kind of thing yourself. Yoshida looked at Makoto Takahashi with a cold face and a playful smile. Kid, I am the editor in charge, not a cartoonist. How to draw comics is up to you as a cartoonist. Things you need to consider. If you rely too much on the editor in charge, don't even think about making progress in this life. So come on, manga artist Makoto Takahashi. No, it's Lelich L. Yagamitsuki-sama. Hey. My beloved cat, who allowed you to look at me like that? Makoto Takahashi was stunned at first, then became a little angry. As a pet, you must have the consciousness of a pet. Even if you are a skin god, you must obey Zaya after being recovered. Be careful, I will put you in the elf ball and send you back to your hometown for Dr. Oak to do research. It's okay to be unhappy, but, how to change it? Takahashi Makoto has a headache. Indeed, as Yoshida just said, this work has become very strange. It's obviously an inspirational love story about Notame and Prince Kayaki, but because Nana's aura is too strong, the whole plot begins to change in a strange direction. If Nana's characteristics are changed, the problem may be solved, but after changing Nana's characteristics, will Nana still be the queen? It is rare to be able to put Takahashi Makoto into such a situation. This pleasure should be enjoyed. Seeing Takahashi Makoto's confused and speechless expression, Yoshida laughed with satisfaction. Yoshida knows very well that although Takahashi Makoto has been serializing comics for 4 years, he is still far behind compared to those cartoonists who have been famous for a long time. Ha 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 ha, that's it? Why am I limited to the world of comics? You can also use that trick. Just when Yoshida couldn't help it and wanted to give a hint, Takahashi Makoto suddenly laughed wildly. Yoshida was a little stunned. Could this kid have thought of it so quickly? What are you thinking of? Tell me first, Yoshida urged Takahashi Makoto urgently, his eyes full of hope and expectation. If you want to change the development of the plot, all you need to do is change Nana's aura. When Makoto Takahashi said these words, Yoshida almost slapped him in the face. Is this what he has been thinking about for so long? Or did you choose the worst path? But I don't want to do this. Makoto Takahashi's words made Yoshida, who looked a little disappointed, light up his glasses, and Makoto Takahashi continued, Nana is the queen, and this is unchangeable. In this case, then I just change the narrative mode of comic plots. The narrative mode of comic plots, Yoshida was a little confused, but he had never thought of this. Humph, that's right. A weak existence like the male protagonist waiting for a hatchet might as well be thrown away like a used rag. Makoto Takahashi seemed to be caught in some kind of fanatical fantasy. A heroine. If you can't complete the entire story, then just add 2 more, the triangle is the most stable existence. 3 heroines. Yoshida was really surprised by Takahashi Makoto's words this time. After pondering for a moment, a glint flashed in his eyes. In other words, do you want to describe the three heroines through a story? Well, that's right, the male protagonist or something, just cut off the unique props and die. Before you curse and complain about the male protagonist, could you please unzip your pants and see if your little brother is okay? Yoshida looked at Makoto Takahashi with contempt. But this little guy, this setting sounds interesting. The idea is really bold. Yoshida began to brainstorm the content of the comic. The more he thought about it, the more curious he became. What will the story be like? Duan-yu, Suzu, and Xiaofeng. The most classic three-protagonist model, Makoto Takahashi looked at the horizon with a longing face. Master Jin, please lend me your power. Let me use that the purple-haired bastard is completely destroyed into tiny particles. Give me strength, Jin-dada. Maybe this kid is waiting to surpass those famous cartoonists and step onto a new stage in the future. Just when Yoshida was thinking this, he heard Takahashi Makoto's low murmur. With Jin-da's help, hee, the purple-haired offal will be blasted to pieces, hee, cut into pieces of meat and fed to Ding-chun. By the way, how much resentment do you have towards Makai no Koji? Yoshida looked at Takahashi Makoto, whose smile began to collapse and gradually turned evil, and shook his head with a puzzled look on his face. Also, who is this Jin-dada you mentioned? A middle school cartoonist. Author, Mao-do-sde Mao. Chapter 40. Demon King Ogata is not only an excellent music producer, but also an excellent manager. Well, of course she is also a dead sister control who can rival Lelich. When the Makai no Anji incident happened before, the great Demon King Ogata did not panic at all, but took various countermeasures calmly. In response to Makai no Aoji's remarks, Ogata the great Demon King chose to remain silent, neither admitting nor denying. In response to the media's inquiries, he used the excuse that Rina was busy preparing for the concert to stop all announcements and activities outside of Rina. It's not that Ogata the great Demon King doesn't want to clarify, but after having been in the entertainment industry for several years, he knows very well that as soon as he opens his mouth to explain this kind of thing, the deadlock will directly turn into a deadlock. What's more, Ogata's sister control level is at full level. Although Ogata seemed a little tired of facing what Makai no Anji did, his counterattack plan had already begun to be implemented. This Makai no Anji is really... The great Demon King Ogata looked at the report in the newspaper, with a dangerous smile on his face. My sister, Ogata Aji, is not an existence used to hype up the topic. It seems that she is going to let Maki Anji remember this truth. However, this must be hidden from Rina. After all, for a kind-hearted person like Rina, even if Makai no Aoji did something very excessive, maybe Rina would forgive him if he begged, right? So you must not let Rina know about this plan. After thinking carefully, the great Demon King Ogata began to implement his plan. So, you should prepare well during this period, Demon King Ogata said to his sister calmly in a tone as if nothing had happened. I have arranged everything. What you have to do now, it's all about preparing for the concert. Although the great Demon King Ogata has repeatedly stated that Rina is not allowed to go to Takahashi Makoto, during this period, because he was busy with reporters and the media, the great Demon King Ogata relaxed his supervision of Princess Rina a little, so the princess was born. Going on a secret date with the King of Braves. Rina quietly returned home in the middle of the night, only to see the great Demon King Ogata sitting on the sofa with a calm face, smoking quietly, and the atmosphere of terror continued to spread. Yes, this is the inherent barrier of the great Demon King Ogata, the dawn before the light of despair spreads. Brother, why, it's so late, you haven't slept yet. Facing the great Demon King Ogata with his inherent barrier fully opened, the weak Princess Rina stuttered a little when she spoke, and the look on her face was completely frightened and uneasy. Then, I'm going back to the room first. Rina didn't dare to run, so she had to quicken her pace and walk towards her room. As soon as she entered the room, she could break away from the inherent barrier of the great demon King Ogata. But Rina was too naive. Once the inherent barrier is opened, it means that the war has begun. Oh! Rina, you! The great demon King Ogata suddenly sighed and said slowly, "You came back so late, you must have gone to see Takahashi Makoto again." The affirmative tone of the great demon King Ogata made the sneaking Rina stop, lowered her head as if resigned to her fate, and silently came to the side of the great demon King Ogata without saying a word, not even daring to raise her head to take a look. That can be read as the existence of the great demon King of Brothers writing. Now that you have seen that brat, you should prepare for the concert carefully, right? Demon King Ogata did not mean to blame, but instead rubbed Rina's head dotingly. You were not allowed to see Takahashi Makoto before, you can't prepare for the concert with peace of mind. Now that you've seen it, you should practice hard in the next period. The quality of the songs you wrote is not a problem, but the quantity is too small. I want to finish it. A concert is not enough. So I wrote a few songs for you, you can start practicing tomorrow. Yes, tomorrow. After Rina agreed, she thought of something else and looked at Demon King Ogata with some hesitation. Brother, not tomorrow. Humph. Do you still want to see that brat Takahashi Makoto? The great Demon King Ogata was angry. The pressure of the Demon King combined with the majesty of his brother. It seems that you thought I was busy dealing with some things these days. I don't have time to care about you, do I? That's not it, Rina explained anxiously. Tomorrow Changkun will practice piano music with me. It's prepared for the concert. The double piano music Changjun specially wrote for me is, In a moment of excitement, Rina told Makoto Takahashi about writing a two-piano piece. But as soon as the words came out, Rina immediately noticed that the expression of Demon King Ogata had changed. She knew that she had said something she shouldn't have said, and she quickly covered her mouth, but unfortunately it was too late. Piano music, Ogata Demon King had a strange look on his face, and it's a double piano piece? Doesn't that kid think he is a composer after studying piano for a few years? That's not the case. Rina looked at the great Demon King Ogata angrily, thinking to herself, since she has already said it, there is nothing to hide, since Makoto-kun didn't say to keep it secret anyway. What exactly happened? Demon King Ogata looked at his delusional sister and pushed up his glasses. It seems that a lot of things happened that I don't know about. Rina, can you tell me? Seeing that Demon King Ogata was planning to get to the bottom of the matter, Rina had no choice but to tell everything that had happened in the past few days. The great Demon King Ogata is the great Demon King Ogata. Even though Rina told the whole story with ups and downs, his expression did not change at all. On the contrary, Rina, who was worried and scared at the beginning, became confident as she described what Takahashi Makoto did, and temporarily gained the ability to fight against the great Demon King Ogata. Oh, I almost forgot. This is from Makoto-kun to my brother. Rina took out a thick envelope and handed it to the great Demon King Ogata. She stretched her body and looked at the great Demon Ogata with a tired face. Yawning, Makoto-kun's mission has been completed, Rina is going to bed. Good night, brother. This is... Demon King Ogata took the envelope. There was a demon with wings drawn on it. The face was wearing glasses and looked familiar. Me. Great Demon King Ogata, are you really the Great Demon King? Her Royal Highness the Princess has been so humiliated, and you just stand aside and watch like a cowed turtle? If this is the case, I will be extremely disappointed. Wait. Demon King Ogata only read half of it and threw the letter aside decisively. What did Makoto Takahashi want to say in his letter? Looking at the music score in his hand, Demon King Ogata seemed to have guessed something. At first, Ogata didn't pay much attention, thinking that it was just written by Makoto Takahashi casually, but when he took a closer look, he couldn't help but be a little surprised, because Ogata asked himself that he could not reach such a level now. Is this really written by that kid? Ogata's eyes became a little solemn and he clutched the music score in his hand tightly. It seems to be the same as what my father said. Although this kid usually looks a little shy, but he is a real genius. But the great demon king Ogata looked at the music score in his hand seriously again, and slowly started tapping with his fingers. The further he looked back, the weirder his expression became. Music can penetrate people's souls. Through music, we can understand the author's feelings and understand what the author's state of mind was when he created this song. The great demon king Ogata looked at the music score in his hand with a confused look on his face. I'm very curious, how does this kid create this music? The accumulation of experience, knowledge, and these things takes time to accumulate. Just when Ogata Demon King was talking to himself and was in shock, the phone rang. It was Makoto Takahashi. Great Demon King Ogata. Have you ever felt the vibration of the world and the trembling of your soul? Ha 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 ha. Makoto Takahashi spoke as usual, making the great Demon King Ogata frown. First of all, let me ask you, Your Highness the Princess, will you give me the contract? Have you given it to me? Contract, the words were still incomprehensible. Demon King Ogata took off his glasses and rubbed his eyes gently. What do you want to say? Humph, everything is just as I expected. Makoto Takahashi's tone on the other side of the phone became a little rude. You only read half of that letter and threw it aside, right? You must be. Now, I am clutching the music scores attached to the letter with a look of disbelief on my face. What a pity that I couldn't see you looking like a clown trying to please the king. I am indeed surprised. Ogata Demon King was not affected at all by Takahashi Makoto's low-quality provocation. Instead, he started to mock in a calm tone. Why, I feel that I have escaped from being a scum and evolved into a loser. Are you at the level of a dog? And these music scores, are they really? How do you feel about the great Demon King? Do you find it unbelievable? Makoto Takahashi's voice began to sound proud. You guessed it right. Those songs were not written by me, they all came from another world. Those are the songs the top musicians have spent years and painstaking efforts to create works. After the baptism of time, they still shine in the world. After coming to this world, I have an obligation to let these forgotten classics become brilliant again. Kid, what do you want to say? Demon King Ogata became a little impatient. You're not just bored and want to call me and show off to me, right? Although I admit that I can't right now. I can't produce music with this kind of feeling, but maybe in a dozen years. You should read the contract first. Makoto Takahashi suddenly interrupted the great demon Lord Ogata and sneered. You are so lucky this time, great demon Lord Ogata. But you will be next. When he heard Takahashi Makoto hang up the phone, Ogata didn't pay attention. Instead, he picked up the letter he had thrown aside before and began to read it word by word. My target this time is that purple-haired bastard. For the sake of the princess, I won't list you as a target for elimination this time. So, great demon King Ogata, you can start hiding in the corner to celebrate alone. Yo. By the way, more than 70% of the entire letter is filled with Takahashi Makoto's mockery of the great demon King Ogata, which shows Takahashi Makoto's true nature. But Ogata was very serious, and when he saw the end, there was no anger on his face, once again demonstrating the extraordinary mental cultivation of the great demon king. Is this reinforcements? Looking at what Takahashi Makoto wrote at the back of the letter, Demon King Ogata's eyes lit up, the corners of his mouth slightly raised, and he smiled for the first time. Is this the purpose of you little brat? Since so, I'll go there with Rina tomorrow, although I'm a little reluctant to admit it. It seems that I owe you, a brat, a dispensable favor this time. On the other side, Makoto Takahashi was holding the black cat Liuli, and had just finished talking with the great demon Lord Ogata. Tomorrow the plan will begin. Makoto Takahashi's eyes flashed with anticipation, and a strange smile appeared on his face. He looked at the comic manuscript on the table and said softly, "The most important chess piece is in place, Great Demon Lord Ogata, please don't let me down." Meow meow meow, Li Yulai raised her head with curiosity, and it seemed that it could feel Makoto Takahashi's excitement at this moment. "Hey, Li Yulai-chan." Makoto Takahashi held Li Yulai in front of him, stared at it seriously, and said with a smile, "Although I am in a hostile state with the great demon Lord Ogata, I give appropriate help at this time. Although it comes from the hostile camp, as reinforcements, I am the real dynasty warriors."